I never thought a harmless joke would end one of the closest friendships of my life. I'm 35 years old, my husband is 42, and we've been together for almost 8 years, married for 4. We genuinely enjoy each other's company, and I've always trusted him completely. I'm not the jealous type. For over 2 years, I was also very close to a 45-year-old coworker. She felt more like a sister than just a friend. Because I was the only married woman in our friend group, I'd always joke that my husband was our husband. If anyone needed help moving furniture, fixing a car, or repairing something around the house, I'd laugh and say, "Don't worry, our husband will help." It was just a joke, or at least, I thought it was. Little by little, one friend started taking that joke far more seriously than everyone else. She stopped asking me for help. She started asking my husband, constantly. She'd casually call him our husband, and before long, even her teenage kids were joking that he was their mom's boyfriend. At first, I laughed it off, but deep down, it didn't feel funny anymore. Then one evening, everything started feeling different. We were hosting a party at our house. My husband and my friend were outside cleaning together. The moment I walked outside, the conversation instantly changed. You know that awkward silence when people stop talking because someone walked in? That's exactly what happened. Maybe it was innocent, maybe it wasn't, but my gut noticed it. Later, while they were planning my birthday party, in my own garage, my friend actually looked at me and laughed. "Go back inside, we're talking." I froze. Excuse me? This was my birthday, my house, and somehow I was the one being sent away. That already felt strange, but it got worse. After the party, my husband complained that organizing the food had been frustrating because I supposedly kept changing my mind. Except, I never did. I'd told my friend she could choose the menu however she wanted. So I asked her about it. Instead of simply explaining, she immediately became defensive. She blurted out, "I don't talk to people's husbands like that." The problem? I never accused her of talking to my husband. Why would that be the first thing she said? That answer honestly made me more suspicious than anything else. During the same conversation, she admitted something else. She believed her own husband hated her. Suddenly, a lot of previous conversations started making much more sense. Then, the birthday planning continued. She needed money for supplies. Instead of contacting me, she texted my husband directly. She had him transfer money into her personal account through Zelle. She coordinated delivery times with him, made decisions with him, and I kept finding out afterward. It slowly felt like my own home was being managed without me. Now let me be very clear. I never believed my husband was having an affair. That wasn't the issue. The problem was my friend. She constantly praised him, compared him to her own husband, criticized how I spoke to him, and somehow, she always seemed just a little too comfortable around him. When I confronted her again about several comments she'd made, she suddenly claimed she'd never said any of them, even though I remembered them perfectly. At that point, the friendship never really recovered. Then came the moment that finally pushed me over the edge. We were celebrating another friend's birthday. My friend asked me to take pictures of her and my husband. I figured one picture wouldn't hurt, but then she wanted another, and another, each time wrapping her arms around him, changing poses, asking for retakes. Watching someone I considered family repeatedly hug my husband while I stood there taking the photos, honestly, it hurt. On the drive home, I asked my husband one simple question. Why didn't you step away? Instead of understanding why I was upset, he got defensive. He told me I was blaming him for problems that were really between me and my friend. That response hurt almost as much as the pictures themselves. The next day, I texted my friend. I calmly explained that the hugging crossed a boundary. She apologized, but then claimed, "Oh, I hug all my friends like that." I didn't argue. Instead, I sat down and wrote out every single boundary I needed. Stop calling him our husband. Stop calling him your boyfriend. Don't come to my house unless you tell me first. If I'm not home, leave. Don't feed him. Don't touch him. Don't contact him directly for favors. Don't spend time alone with him. Don't lift your shirt around him. And if people speak badly about me, defend me instead of staying silent. Every single rule came from something that had already happened. Nothing was random. Nothing was imaginary. Eventually, I blocked her from my husband's phone and social media. When I admitted I'd done it, my husband was furious. He said I was overreacting. He insisted nothing inappropriate had happened. Then he reminded me, "This all started because you joked that I was our husband." Maybe he was partly right. The joke started it. But I certainly didn't create everything that followed. Eventually, I showed him everything I'd written. Every detail, every conversation, every uncomfortable moment. At first, he couldn't believe it. He honestly wondered if my friend and I were somehow setting him up, because he couldn't imagine she'd behave that way. But then, he read everything carefully. He talked to one of his own friends, and something finally clicked. He admitted that from an outside perspective, the relationship looked inappropriate, even if nothing romantic had ever happened. For the first time, he told me I wasn't imagining things. He finally understood why I'd been so uncomfortable. What bothered him most was that my friend never once tried to reassure anyone. She never clearly acknowledged how her behavior looked. She simply became defensive every single time. Sadly, that realization came too late to save the friendship. We tried working together. Every conversation turned into another argument. Eventually, she ended our business arrangement. Then she started telling mutual friends that I'd falsely accused her of trying to steal my husband. According to her, she was the victim. She accepted absolutely no responsibility. That hurt more than I expected. Because this wasn't just a friend. She was someone I once considered family, someone I trusted like a sister. Walking away broke my heart. But eventually, I accepted something important. Friendships can't survive without respect, and boundaries only work when both people choose to honor them. In the end, I didn't lose my marriage. I lost someone who repeatedly ignored my boundaries, refused accountability, and expected me to stay silent. As painful as it was, choosing my peace and protecting my marriage was the right decision. At first, I kept telling myself I was overthinking everything. Maybe I was just noticing things because I felt uncomfortable. Maybe none of it actually meant anything. But then, more little moments started piling up. While we were planning my birthday party, I gave my friend complete freedom to handle the food. I trusted her, and honestly, I appreciated the help. So imagine my surprise when, after everything was over, my husband complained that planning the food had been so difficult because I supposedly kept changing my mind. I just stared at him. What are you talking about? I never changed anything. I had barely been involved. So I called my friend to ask what had happened. Instead of calmly explaining, she immediately became defensive. Without me accusing her of anything, she suddenly said, "I don't talk to people's husbands like that." I was completely caught off guard. I hadn't even mentioned my husband. I wasn't asking about private conversations. I was asking about food. So why was that the first thing she felt the need to defend? That answer stuck in my mind for days. During the same conversation, she admitted something else that caught my attention. She believed her own husband hated her. Hearing those words made me rethink so many of our past conversations. She had always compared my husband to hers. She constantly talked about how kind, patient, and dependable my husband was. At first, I thought she was just being nice. Now, it felt different. Then another situation happened. She needed money to pay for birthday supplies. Instead of contacting me, she reached out directly to my husband. He transferred money into her account through Zelle. She coordinated delivery times with him. She handled plans with him. And somehow, I kept finding out after everything had already been decided. It felt like I was slowly being pushed out of conversations that involved my own home. I still didn't believe my husband was cheating, not even for a second, but I couldn't ignore the fact that my friends seemed to rely on him more and more. And every time I questioned something, she always had an explanation. Then came another friend's birthday dinner, a night that completely changed how I saw everything. After dinner, my friend smiled and handed me her phone. "Can you take a picture of me and your husband?" I thought, sure, one picture isn't a big deal, so I took it. Then she looked at it. "No, let's do another one." She wrapped both arms around my husband. I took another picture. Then she wanted another. Different pose, different angle, another hug, another picture, another retake. I stood there, holding the camera, watching my own friend repeatedly finding excuses to stay close to my husband. No one else seemed bothered, but I was. The entire drive home, I stayed quiet. Finally, I looked at my husband and asked, "Why didn't you step away?" I wasn't yelling. I wasn't accusing him. I genuinely wanted to know. Instead of understanding why I felt uncomfortable, he became defensive. He said I was blaming him for problems that were really between me and my friend. That conversation hurt, because all I wanted was for him to understand why I felt disrespected. Instead, I felt completely alone. And that's when I realized, ignoring my feelings wasn't making the situation disappear. If anything, it was only getting worse. The next morning, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I'd stayed quiet for too long. Every uncomfortable moment I'd ignored, every excuse I'd made, every time I told myself I was just overthinking, it all came rushing back. So I sent my friend a message. I kept it calm, respectful, direct. I told her the constant hugging had crossed a boundary and that it couldn't happen again. A little while later, she replied. She apologized, but almost immediately added, "I hug all my friends like that." Maybe she believed that explanation. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it didn't change how I felt. Because this wasn't about one hug. It was about everything that had happened before it. That's when I sat down, opened my phone, and started writing. Not out of anger, out of clarity. I realized I needed clear boundaries. No more calling my husband our husband. No more calling him your boyfriend. Don't come to my house without telling me first. If I'm not home, don't stay. Don't feed him. Don't touch him. Don't contact him directly when you need favors. Talk to me instead. Don't spend time alone with him. Don't lift your shirt around him. And if someone speaks badly about me, stand up for me instead of staying silent. As I looked over the list, something hit me. Every single boundary existed because she'd already crossed it. I wasn't making up imaginary rules. I was reacting to real situations. By then, I felt emotionally exhausted. I didn't know what else to do. So I blocked her from my husband's phone. Then I removed her from his social media too. I knew some people would think that was extreme. Maybe it was. But at that moment, it felt like the only way to stop things from getting even worse. Eventually, I told my husband what I'd done. His reaction wasn't what I hoped for. He got upset. He said I was overreacting. He insisted nothing inappropriate had ever happened. Then he looked at me and said, "This all started because you kept joking that I was our husband." Hearing those words stung. Because yes, the joke had started everything. But I never invited someone to ignore my boundaries. I never invited someone to treat my husband like he belonged to both of us. There was a huge difference, and somehow he still couldn't see it. That night, I barely slept. I kept wondering if I really was overreacting, or if everyone else simply refused to see what had been happening right in front of them. I needed someone, anyone, to understand why this hurt so much. That's when I decided to write down the entire story, every uncomfortable moment, every conversation, every detail. I wanted someone outside the situation to tell me, was I losing my mind, or were my feelings actually valid? Little did I know, that decision would end up changing everything. By then, the damage had already been done. We tried to keep working together, but every conversation turned into another argument. Nothing ever got resolved. Eventually, she ended our business arrangement. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I found out she'd been talking about me. She told mutual friends that I'd falsely accused her of trying to steal my husband. According to her, she was the victim. I was the unreasonable one. She accepted no responsibility for anything that had happened. Not the boundaries she crossed, not the discomfort she caused, nothing. Hearing that broke my heart, because this wasn't just someone I knew. She'd been one of my closest friends, someone I trusted like family, someone I thought would always be in my life. Losing that friendship hurt more than I can describe. But sometimes, losing someone is less painful than constantly questioning your own peace. Looking back now, I don't think the biggest lesson was about jealousy. It was about respect. Real friends don't make you compete for your own place in your marriage. Real friends don't ignore your boundaries. And real friends don't make you feel like an outsider in your own home. In the end, I didn't lose my husband. Our marriage survived because we finally started listening to each other. But I did lose someone I once called my sister. And as painful as that was, I'd make the same decision again. Because protecting my marriage, protecting my peace, and protecting my self-respect will always be worth it. Sometimes the hardest goodbye is also the healthiest one. The end.